Loved ones, Mgmt 3234, this is session 22. If we were face-to-face, it would be 21 July 20. This presentation is the last class meeting that we will have. You have other responsibilities, venture journal, finals, stuff like that. But this is the last presentation of content. So I want to mention a couple of things administratively. I know you're aware of this because we are closing in on the end of the B term. Our next class, session 23, you have three documents or three assignments, however you wish to think of it. You have the PMT statement, the product market technology statement, for one concept that you'd like to bring to market. For that same concept, a venture screen. Now, the PMT statement and the venture screen, there's significant guidance for both in the Journal of Management Education article on 822 and 823. And then, of course, the other thing that's due, and a big part of your grade, is the venture journal. That is sort of the culmination of everything we did early in this session and your work throughout the intervening 5 weeks. So the venture journal, the PMT statement, and the venture screen are due in session 23, that is tomorrow. On Thursday of this week, your final exam is due. And again, that will be the final, clearly, unsurprisingly, the final thing that you do. So today is a presentation of chapter 16. The title of the chapter is clever, I guess. It's called something like Pitching Your Idea. And we're going to talk about that in a moment because it's a very big deal. Basically, what sort of an elevator pitch should you develop to present your idea to someone spontaneously? You've had no opportunity, you bump into them, you only get 60 seconds or something like that. But before we do that, there are a couple of things I want to do. Of course, I will tell the attendance verification story, but this is our last class of the summer session, and here is my reality. I miss you terribly. Please come by my office and visit during the fall semester. I'll be here. I might have to be wearing a diaper on my face. I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but I'd love to meet you. Come by, introduce yourself. Just from our many exchanges, there are a lot of extraordinary people in this class. I know that, it's obvious, and I would love to meet you. You're part of my treasure here. I intensely dislike the lack of interaction that comes with online education. I would never do it of my own volition. I was forced to do it in the spring when we shut down campus for the virus, and the decision was made, of course, to present everything in the summer sessions online. And I'll be a good soldier and do that as well as I can. But gosh, I'm looking forward to getting back to face-to-face, actual people. Yes, I'm looking forward to that. Now, I know some of you all walked in May. I know Cindy McDaniels, you were one. I had you in an earlier class. I love you and I'll miss you. And importantly, if you're gone, if you're done when we wrap up this session, every good wish in all that you do. So now I want to go to the AV story, the attendance verification story. All of my classes in the summer session this year, summer 20, have been filmed in 1104, one of the tiered classrooms in the Parker College, except for the Rules of Engagement video. You may remember that I filmed that in a satellite classroom, which is what we call my deck. And I chose to do that because I was reasonably sure that I shouldn't bring a suppressed AR-15 inside the building. I just thought that would be a bad call. You know, we permitted campus carry for 3 years. Hallelujah, thank you, Lord, that we have campus carry. But the firearms have to be concealed, and it's very difficult to suppress a rifle that's 4.5 feet long and weighs 9 or 10 pounds. So, with the exception of the Rules of Engagement video, which I filmed on my deck, everything else has been filmed in 1104. And in the spring term, you remember this because all of y'all went through this. Our first 9 weeks were face-to-face. Then we broke for the spring break. And then during the spring break, the Board of Regents, the entire University System of Georgia, decided to do 2 things: to extend the break by a week and to force everything online. And the reason they extended it by a week is that gave the faculty who were teaching face-to-face 1 week to transform, to convert every face-to-face class we were teaching to a digital format of some sort of an online format. Even in the spring, because it was a traditional academic semester, 15 weeks in duration, my classes met twice a week. And I had the luxury of time. I filmed some of the classes. I filmed at least 3 classes on a rifle range in coastal Georgia. I filmed one class in a CI safe house somewhere in coastal Georgia. Yes, but with summer school, this incredible time compression, 15 weeks into 4.5, I've simply had no opportunity to do anything other than just show up here and punch them out. So I thought I'd take a moment, since I mean, this was purposeful. I thought I'd take a moment to tell you about the CI Safe House here in coastal Georgia. Now, I realized that I just looked at the screen, and I'm wearing a lanyard and it says Central Intelligence Agency. I can neither confirm nor deny that I have ever been a member of the Central Intelligence Agency, and I probably should have left this lanyard in Langley. Bad decision on my part. So, the safe house, I'm not going to give anything specific, but I wanted to give you sort of an overview. It was built in Bullock County about 30 years ago or so. And 100% of the safe house is subterranean, it's underground. And what the agency did was bought a big piece of dirt, and I don't know how long the build took, but between the build and the build out, equipping and everything else, was about a 5-year window. So the agency built a CI safe house that's subterranean. It's multi-level underground, self-sustaining, everything in terms of backup generators, emergency water supplies, oxygen, that sort of a thing. And when it finished, of course, if you think about this, if you buy a big piece of dirt in an industrial park and people see you excavating at a work site, they just assume that you're building a foundation. Okay, that was the plan. Make everybody think that you're building a foundation. And then, of course, once they built the substructure, the stuff that was underground, they built a pretty fair-sized industrial building on top of it. And when I say industrial building, big, I don't know how many tens of thousands of square feet, but a big industrial building. It's a steel building. The building itself has, unsurprisingly, since it was built as an industrial building, the front part of the building is sort of built out into high-quality offices and conference rooms and shared space like kitchens and things like that. And then probably 2/3, 3/4 of the building is pure industrial space. Very tall ceilings, like 24-foot ceilings, open spans, you can drive trucks in there, conveyors to move heavy stuff, big roll-up doors everywhere. But as this thing was being built out, it won't surprise you that it was fenced. A tall perimeter fence was put around it, cameras everywhere, lighting everywhere. And about 5 years after the construction was complete, because the build-up was still taking place in the subterranean structure, the agency leased the upstairs. And of course, the people in the industrial building have no idea that there's a major subterranean structure underneath them. They just show up at work every day. And this tickles me because this is a very big, very robust industrial concern. There's traffic 24 hours a day. Trucks are making deliveries, leaving the facility, employees are working 3 shifts, a lot of activity all the time. So for somebody to watch a vehicle come in or leave means nothing. It's nothing that would draw attention. So the agency has its own entrance. It's a roll-up door on one side of the building, and they drive into the door, and the door goes back down, and then an elevator takes their vehicle down to whatever level they want to go to. Just exactly like James Bond movies, except we don't use Aston Martins. They're mostly practical vehicles, Tahoes and things like that. Las Miatas, there's another practical vehicle. So I guess that's as much as I should probably tell you. But I just thought you would enjoy hearing that, because again, in the spring, I had a chance to film one there. There's a nice conference room there with whiteboards and stuff like that. There had been a field training exercise that day that I participated in, and I just did the filming there later that day. was not a university-sponsored event. It was a different kind of field training exercise. So let me jump into chapter 16, entrepreneurial marketing and pitching your idea. So the authors make it clear when they talk about pitching your idea, they want to tell you how to pitch an idea. They have no interest in telling you what to pitch, because nobody could know what neat concept energizes you, what you want to bring to market that you think would gain traction and market acceptance. So they actually start talking about, initially they start talking about sort of mainstream marketing concepts. I'm not sure that anything they talk about is entrepreneurial. I'm not sure anything they talk about is dissimilar for an early stage business as opposed to one that's more mature. But let's take a look. So the first thing they talk about, on 447, they talk about the marketing mix. Y'all, classically, this has been described as the 4 Ps. Product, price, promotion, and place. That's pretty much older than dirt. People in marketing have understood that framework for decades. It's a classic framework. What product or service are you bringing to market? What price point? Is it an entry-level thing? Is it a $23,000 Toyota Camry? Is it a $38,000 Lexus ES350, sort of an entry luxe vehicle? You want the perception. You can buy blue jeans today for 10 or 11 bucks, can't you? You can buy blue jeans today for 250, and all blue jeans are brushed cotton. Denim is denim. I get it that denim is at different weights per yard. I understand that, but the point is, a lot of blue jeans are sold as workwear, and a lot of blue jeans are sold as luxury wear. So, what is your price point? What about promotion? How do you promote this thing? Look at the people who make athletic attire, Adidas, Reebok, Nike. Look at what they do with professional athletes in collegiate sports. I have no idea what we do here at Southern. It simply doesn't interest me. I know that when I was at the University of Louisville, this is a fun fact. I hate to use that term because it's so trivial, but Rick Pitino, the well-regarded basketball coach, joined the university the same time I did because he went through orientation together. Now the difference is, my starting salary was $70,000, and Pitino's starting salary was $3.7 million. So even though we started working there at the same time, there was a noticeable gap. And I like Pitino. I thought he was a good guy. I would point out that we are all flawed and imperfect, aren't we? So when you talk about promotion, I know that shortly after Pitino became the basketball coach at the University of Louisville, that he signed a contract, I'm almost certain it was with Adidas, and he said that all of the men's basketball attire, shoes, jerseys, everything else will be Adidas branded. You'll provide it. It'll have your logo on it. You know, national film everywhere at the whatever that crazy thing in March is called, March Madness, and every televised game. And Pitino's his contract with Adidas was $500,000 a year. You got $500,000 to commit to Adidas that his players would wear Adidas athletic wear, and that's true everywhere. So how do you promote stuff? Look at the Air Jordans and all the stuff that you see where athletes are paid stupid money. I mentioned James Bond movies a few minutes ago. I can't think of a Bond movie in the last 20 years that hasn't had enormous amount of product placement. I didn't think about this until this very moment. My watch is an Omega Seamaster. Daniel Craig, the current James Bond, wears a variant of that watch. The only difference is his watch face is blue and I prefer black. So James Bond wears an Omega Seamaster. Every single thing for the last 20 years, starting with Pierce Bronson and going through Daniel Craig's 5th Bond movie, BMWs are introduced. Certain vodkas are on the table. If you were to watch those shows on TV like America's Got Talent, isn't Dunkin' Donuts a major sponsor for that bald-headed moron, Howie something or other? I don't think that man's IQ is above 60. I really don't. I worry about it. Yeah. So how do you promote stuff? Do you take it to trade fairs? Do you give things away so people will start using it? Do you have advertising campaigns? Social media, the Goodyear blimp. How do you promote your products or services? And what's the place? That's the 4th P. Product, price, promotion, place. Now, we may think of, naively, we may think of place as a physical location, and that's perfectly legitimate. Oftentimes, in retailing especially, locations are enormously important. Traffic counts, the absence of crime, an affluent trade area population, any number of things like that. So oftentimes, place really matters, but most businesses, not all perhaps, but most businesses have some sort of a hybrid business model where part of what they do is in a physical location and part of what they do is an electronic exchange. You go to my website, buy something, I fulfill the order and ship it. You never set foot in my store or anything like that. So this marketing mix thing that they talk about on 447 is just a classic framework for developing a marketing strategy. And I should have mentioned that earlier. The difference traditionally between marketing and sales is people in marketing develop strategies. How are we going to roll this product out? What segments? What regions? How will we promote it? How will we package it? And sales are the people who literally sell the stuff. They're the people who have direct interactions with customers, whether it's in a retail store, whether it's calling on an industrial business, whatever the case may be. So the distinction between marketing and salespeople literally have direct interactions with customers, and marketing people develop strategies. So we're talking about the marketing piece right now. Now, in the textbook, they only spend like a paragraph on this. They talk about an extension. The 4 P's become the 7 P's, and they talk about adding people, packaging, positioning. Well, packaging used to be subsumed in promotion, but again, I'll talk about that separately. When they talk about people, they are explicitly talking about people who make the register ring, not the customers, but the marketing people and the sales people. How do you staff for those functions? How do you compensate them? How do you evaluate their productivity? How do you help them develop or progress? When should you release them? So the 5th P that they're talking about is the people part of marketing. Number 6, packaging. If you think about a lot of retail products, you and I go to a store and we'll see a blister pack on an end aisle. There's something in there like a barbecue lighter or something like that. I want to use Marlboro cigarettes as a good example of packaging because for probably 25 or 30 years, for that long, I'm almost certain, I think Marlboro was a Philip Morris brand. Philip Morris has changed its name to Patria, I think. But for decades, Marlboro was the only branded cigarette made in the United States that was packaged in a flip-top, crush-proof box. Every other brand of cigarette just had a foil wrap around it. But Marlboro's had a flip-top, crush-proof box. I don't expect that you would have ever watched Happy Days. I don't watch TV much, and I didn't then. But my daughter, I love this, she'll watch a lot of stuff on these classic channels like MeTV and stuff like that. My daughter, who's 22 years old, actually thoroughly enjoys I Love Lucy and the Beverly Hillbillies. They were filmed 40 years before she was born, but they're still available in syndication. So my point is, this thing about the flip-top, crush-proof box, if you ever watched Happy Days, the Fonzie would always wear a t-shirt and rolled up in the sleeve was a box of Marlboros. Flip-top, crush-proof. They're the only cigarettes for 25, 30 years or more that had a flip-top, crush-proof box. And Marlboro, this Philip Morris brand, made a very big deal out of packaging because they were the only ones that did it. So packaging can sometimes be pretty powerful. It can attract us, it can protect the product, even sometimes from theft. So my point is that if you sell a retail product, sometimes packaging is a very big deal. And then they talk about positioning. Positioning, again, in my view, is subsumed into promotion, but that's my view. Positioning says, relative to competing products, where do you want to position yourself? Let me look at General Motors cars. Right now, General Motors has 4 divisions. Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, and GMC truck. So 4 divisions. There was a time when General Motors had 9 car divisions, but they got rid of them all. Saab, Hummer, Saturn, Oldsmobile, can't think of who else. But GM has 4 divisions right now in terms of automobiles. Now, for the moment, I'm going to exclude GM trucks from consideration because the other 3 lines are all autos. So we have Chevrolet, Buick, and Cadillac. So let me come up with the anchor points. General Motors looks at itself and it says when consumers look at our products, they see basic transportation. I will give you this. The C8 Corvette is not basic transportation, but that's a car that only probably, I would imagine that annual production is 25,000 units a year versus 600,000 for the Silverado pickup. So General Motors looks at the Chevrolet division of General Motors as providing basic transportation, whether it's pickup trucks or sedans or crossovers or sport utility vehicles. Now, I know you can spend big money. I know that you can buy a nice tricked out Suburban for 75 large. That's big money. I mean, not to faculty. We're so rich. I have 10 of them. In fact, I'm not even sure where the keys are. Yeah. Anyway, it's hard to call something that costs 75 grand basic transportation. But all it is really is a half-ton pickup truck just all churched up. You know, leather interior and cute stuff and things like that. And an enclosed cargo area that's carpeted instead of an open bed. That's what a Tahoe/Suburban is. It's a half-ton Chevy pickup that's churched up. So Chevy is basic transportation. Cadillac, hands down, always has been, always will be a luxury car. Now, Cadillac makes crossovers, but that's all they make. They make sedans and crossovers, and they're all, 100% of them are luxury cars. So Chevy's basic transportation, Cadillac is luxury car, Buick is in the middle. It's fancier, cuter, more distinctive than the Chevys, but it doesn't make it to the top of the mountain with the Cadillacs. So my point is, that's how General Motors looks at itself. That's how it tries to position its product lines. Chevy is basic transportation. Buick is, I love this, they use the term near luxury. Does that mean that you get to park close to a Lincoln? Is that what it means? And then, of course, Cadillac is luxury. So how do you position a product? Yeah, I mentioned blue jeans earlier. I can go to Walmart and spend 17 bucks and buy Wranglers. My preference, because Carhartt sponsors me, have I told you about that sponsorship? I give Carhartt 28 bucks. They give me a pair of blue jeans, and then I walk around with their name on my butt. And it's a curious sponsoring relationship. I need to get better at negotiating. But my point is I prefer Carhartts because blue jeans to me are workwear. So I spend 28 bucks a pair for Carhartts. Many people spend 50, 60 bucks or more because they want designer jeans. And it's not difficult to spend, I think some of them are as much as $250. There's one for women. It's called something like apple butter or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. But where do you position your product? Is it an entry-level product? Is it mid-range? Is it top of the mountain? Where do you position your product? And price has some element in positioning, but if you're going to position it mid-range or higher, you better have some features that El Cheapo doesn't have. Does that make sense? So we have this classic framework in marketing: product, price, promotion, and place. And to those 4 things, what the authors are adding, they're suggesting that the marketing literature weaves this in, and I don't challenge that. I'm not a marketing guy. They're saying that added to those 4, we have people, the sales and marketing staff, we have packaging, and we have positioning. Where relative to your competitors' products or services do you position yours? Now, I'm on 449, and they talk about branding. Heck yeah. How about the Parker College of Business? Is that a form of branding? Who wins? Does Greg Parker win in a sense? I mean, he's contributed millions of dollars for this to become the Parker College of Business, but that is a very durable sort of a presence. We as employees of the college don't have any discernible benefit, but you do. And that's a big deal. Here's the reason you do. Any college anywhere in this nation that is named after a benefactor, after someone who donated millions of dollars, any college that's named, any college that's named literally raises the value of the degree. And the reason that your degree is more valuable now than when we were just the College of Business, now that we're the Parker College of Business, is outsiders, people that know nothing about this college and this university say, oh, a named college, here's what that means. Somebody who is incredibly successful in life, who's a multimillionaire, donated millions of dollars because the people at that College of Business do things uncommonly well. So, this isn't a reputation, it's not a perception other people have, it's the fact that we're branded. We're a named College of Business. And I don't care what you're talking about. You could be talking the Darla Moore School of Business at USC. Is it Schofield? The University of Central Florida has a School of Hospitality that's named. Again, any degree from any named college has significant value because outsiders, external constituents, even though they know nothing about the particular entity, think, whoa, somebody who was very successful invested millions into that unit, that academic unit, because they're doing things well there. They're doing some things uncommonly well. So the Parker College of Business, I think, is a pretty good example of branding. But the point is that branding permits you to develop a term or words that both identifies whatever you offer and it differentiates it. And I can't think of a better example than your degree, because your degree will be from the Parker College of Business. And it usually starts with a name, something that's credible or memorable. And when you talk about branding, there are a lot of businesses, and I don't really understand this, there are a lot of businesses that see value in a business that's named with a single word. That means nothing to me. How about Snap? Uber, oh that's good. Probably if you were in Germany, that'd be really good. Lyft, I had to put those two things together, Uber, Lyft. You know that Lyft in England is an elevator? Yeah, you knew that. WeWork. Okay, that's a mashup of two words, I get that, but it's a single name, WeWork, and of course, it was, I have no words. It was such a charade. The people who invested in it lost $40 billion. And it probably won't survive another year or two. Lime, yes. Did we have Lime bikes on campus for a while, and then Lime brought the scooters, and y'all said, I'm not gonna grind out that pedal thing when I can sit on the scooter and be styling all over campus. Probably look at my glowing Pop-Tart while I'm riding, yeah. I don't know why companies think that there's value in describing yourself in a single word. I really don't. But, and then they talk about, when this branding thing, they talk about taglines. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time there because I don't think there's a lot of value to be gained there. But I'm reminded of the potato chip company that says, bet you can't eat just one. Branding says that you somehow develop an identity for your offering and you do things that differentiate it. And I get that. Again, much more of a marketing concept than a concept that's unique to entrepreneurship. Now, on 453, and here's what the authors say, they have a new alternative to that 4P framework. It's called the SAVE framework. Here's what it is: solution, access, value, price. Solution takes the place of product. Access takes the place of, takes the place of place. Value takes the place of price. Education takes the place of promotion. We accomplished absolutely nothing. When you put old wine in a new bottle, you accomplish nothing, and that's what this did. So I'm not big on trendy things that lack context or contribution. I'm not even sure why I brought it up, except to discredit it, to say that it adds absolutely no value. So now, I'm on 455, and the authors talk about entrepreneurial marketing, and they want to contrast it with traditional marketing. And I honestly believe that those lines have been blurred for a long time. I really do. I'll tell you why, but let's just talk about it. So here's what they say entrepreneurial marketing is. It says that you should adopt novel or unconventional practices to get market acceptance. And what do they talk about? Social media. Are you kidding me? Every big company has entire departments of people whose only responsibility is getting stuff out there on social media. When I say getting stuff out, announcements, updates, responses to feedback, new content always. That has nothing to do with early stage ventures. Ford, a number of years ago, created an entire department with, I think, a vice president at the top of that subunit. And their only responsibility was promotion of products using social media. And they did this fun thing that probably had at least 400,000 people participate. They said, build your own Mustang. And what they did is you're looking at a monitor, you're at your apartment or wherever you are, you're looking at a monitor on a tablet, a laptop, whatever, and you get to configure a Mustang the way you want it. Colors, options, different wheels, things like that. And you get to somehow customize it. And I don't know who the judges were, but there was a winner announced, and the winner got a free Mustang, $50,000, $60,000 car. Well, 400,000 people participated in that. Do you suppose that created some buzz for the Mustang? I'm pretty sure it did. You think it might have translated to sales? I know it did. The reason I know it did is the most recent year of full year sales is 2019, and we have results for the first 6 months of 2020. The Mustang in the United States has sold more cars than, it only has two significant competitors. It has the Challenger from FCA, Fiat Chrysler Autos, and it has the Camaro from General Motors. And Mustang has sold more cars in the first 6 months of 2020 than those other two platforms combined. So Mustang is a clear winner in terms of market acceptance. And the truth is that I no longer have kept track of this in terms of the demographic. When the Mustang was launched, it was launched in 1964. I love this. April 17th, 1964. I think that should be a national holiday, but no. So here's what one of the VPs of marketing at Ford said at the launch. He said, we built this car only for two demographics. We think there are only two user groups that will buy it. The first thing we want to talk about is people who are under 40. We built a youthful car, sporty, that kind of thing. And in terms of function and aesthetics and everything else, we're serving that segment, anybody that's under 40. The only other segment we're serving would be people who are 40 and older. I really hope you appreciated that. But again, when the authors say that social media is somehow novel, unconventional practices, every business has a significant presence in social media. You'd be a moron not to. My local barbecue joint posts stuff daily. Rebecca Wilde, who owns the Daily Grind, will post at 7 o'clock when she opens what flavor she's brewing today on Facebook. So the use of social media is hardly novel or unconventional. And most companies of any size have a big subunit whose primary responsibility is to market stuff using social media. New product rollouts, updates, fresh content, responding to feedback. I was interested in buying a pair of Merrell lightweight hikers. And I went to their website, and there were two, I guess, that appealed to me. And I looked at the features of the boot, and I liked it, and I went to the reviews. And the reason I said that is there were 3 or 4 people who were critical. They said, uncomfortable, too narrow, not waterproof, whatever their criticisms were. In every single case, somebody at Merrell corporate had responded, and they would say something like, we appreciate your feedback, we're sorry you're disappointed, here's a toll-free number for customer service, please call us and we'll see if we can do something that accommodates you. Okay, that's big stuff. The fact that a company has people watching, and clearly, if people are sending in reviews and they're praising it, that's good stuff. But what if people send in a review and say, this stuff is crap? And they immediately craft a thoughtful, personal response. So my point is that it's hard to say the use of social media is novel or unconventional, but that's what they give us. Now, I want to read this to you. I'm not much of a reader out of textbooks, you know that. I want to take you to page 462, table 16.4. Even if you don't turn there, that's just fine. Because I'm going to grab some stuff that I really want you to hear. All right, so again, the capture would be table 16.4 on page 462. And it says 10 tips for building your website. And I think some of these things are just profound. They're so insightful. I'm not going to read all of them. Difficult to find contact information. I've struggled with that because I wanted to call, talk to tech support, get some questions answered before I ordered something. Do not ever make that mistake. Do not bury your contact information. I think your nav bar should have a button. And one of the choices in the nav bar should be contact us. Clearly. And boom, you can send me an email directly. Here's an address, mail a letter. Here's a phone number, give us a call. But again, this notion about difficult to find contact. It talks about overusing the wow factor. I fear that we build this in when we expect you to make presentations that have flashes and graphics and audio. None of us are interested in that crap. And the problem is those features in a website make it slow to load. And I don't necessarily want to see stuff flashing. You know what annoys the stuffing out of me? When I go to a website with the intention of buying something and I get this huge pop-up box that fills the screen that says, join our email list now, you get 10 cents off your first order. I don't care about the discount. I don't want my inbox flooded with crap. A few years ago, I went to Target because one of my dear friends' adult children was marrying. They were registered only at Target. And I went there to get something off the baby registry, or maybe it was a wedding, I don't know. But you see my point. I go to a Target registry, and I'm a son of a gun. I get 4 emails a day from Target. I have unsubscribed 155 times, but I get 4 a day. Here's your Target newsletter. I don't want the Target newsletter. I keep telling you that. So my point is, this stuff about flash and wow factors, don't do it. Don't do it. Nobody's interested in, very few people are interested in silly stuff like that. Slow load times. Okay, I don't know who Mgmt Technologies are, but they did a study recently that showed the mean length of time that shoppers wait for a website to load, this is an average, is 4 seconds. If they wait more than 4 seconds, they're going to click out of there and go somewhere else. And the reason websites are slow to load is you think you're all that in a bag of Doritos. And you put all this goofy, irrelevant stuff in there. Flashes and crawlers and things like that. Not getting picked up by search engines. Oh yeah, my little LLC, 3 Trick Ponies, the race shop, I didn't have the money or the inclination to pay for search engine optimization, and the number of people who came to my website was embarrassing. It really was. So the point is, I think you need to, if you're not capable of doing SEO yourself, search engine optimization, I don't think you should start a business unless you have a budget to pay somebody, so that when I am a shopper, when I'm looking for stuff, I put in some keywords, you're going to come up in the first 10 or whatever the case may be. Long sections of text. I think that's kind of a neat insight. Visitors to most websites want to see text in digestible chunks that they can scan quickly. Poor nav. The user experience should be as smooth as possible. We talked about user experience, didn't we? That was in the chapter on design thinking, USX, user experience. Make the user experience good, or people won't be users. Not updating your content. There's nothing I can say to expand on that. I get it that some things are relatively stable. There's not a lot of new tech in chainsaws. So if you're a Husky dealer or you're selling steels or whatever, you may not have a lot of stuff change, but freshen it. Failing to link to social platforms. It says your business should have its own Facebook page, Twitter, LinkedIn, maybe a Pinterest board. I can promise you, I don't think any of us have had the opportunity to be together before in a classroom. I mean, this is a 3,000 level course. It's possible I might have had you in a principal's course, Intro to Business, but most of you are first-time students of mine, so we don't have any history. But if we did, you would know that I intensely disapprove of social media because I think we should call it anti-social media. The very design of every social media platform means that you avoid all direct human interaction. You swipe on cute profiles left or right. You scroll through Facebook. You go through hundreds of posts before reading anything. I don't care what you do, you avoid all direct human interaction. So we shouldn't call it social media, we should call it anti-social media. I despise it. I don't have a presence anywhere. The only, except for the university, the only place that I have a digital presence is on LinkedIn. And I don't do it for me because I'm not looking for a job. I do it because I want to regularly reach out to business owners, HR people, that sort of stuff. I want you to be able to contact me. I want to help you however I can in your job searches. So I have a presence on LinkedIn, but that isn't social media. LinkedIn is a business network. That's what it is. It's a network of people in business. Now, sadly, there are people who post on there that think it's a porn site. That's just, I see so many profiles where I see a pretty face and the bubbles. I don't want to see the girls. This is a business network. It's not a dating website. So my point is, I intensely dislike social media because of what it is, what it does. However, if I were in business instead of academia, I'd be everywhere. When I say everywhere, I would have a Facebook page. I would post regularly. I don't know if I'd be on Twitter. I don't know if I would be, but I promise you I'd have a significant presence on social media. And of course, because I'm so crafty, I'd be on Pinterest and Etsy, all that stuff, yes. If I were in business, I believe that significant social media presence is essential. I'm an academic. I don't have to do that. So I don't. But again, I think that's different in a business context. So I want to talk about those guidelines. Now, in that same page, they actually move finally to pitching, which is the title of the chapter. And I want to sort of tell you the history of elevator pitches as I understand it. I don't dispute that there might be people with competing claims, but if you haven't heard this term, you will hear it for the rest of your life, and that is an elevator pitch. Here's what I believe the genesis of the elevator pitch to be. Wake Forest University is located in the Research Triangle of North Carolina, and it has a pretty robust MBA program, and it has a significant commitment to entrepreneurship education. So Wake Forest is a good school in that domain, and it's in kind of a high energy, vibrant place. It'd be like being in Austin, Texas, or Atlanta. High energy, vibrant, lots of good stuff going on. Statesboro too, of course. So because Wake Forest is physically located in the Research Triangle of North Carolina, and it has an MBA program in entrepreneurship, it has the proximity to a lot of high-speed people. So somebody, I don't think this was the dean, it was probably one of the entrepreneurship faculty, somebody said, let's do this, because we have business plan competitions where we have venture capitalists and entrepreneurs come in and sit in a classroom, and our kids, our teams pitch to them. They make a presentation, 20, 30 minutes of a business plan, and this panel of external judges scores every presentation and gives the kids invaluable feedback. Now the grade is determined by the faculty member, but the kids present to a panel of judges who are all in private equity or entrepreneurs. That's so cool. I think that's so cool. So as an adaptation of that, of this important interaction between the entrepreneurship and private equity community and the MBA students, somebody came up with the idea of an elevator pitch, because one of those three cities that makes the Research Triangle is a banking center. And there are a lot of, like 60 floor office towers and stuff that were headquarters for regional and national banks. So the elevator pitch, literally, here's how it went. I don't know who had an office on the 60th floor, but let's assume that some bank had an office on the 60th floor of an office building. A representative, not the team, a representative of a venture team at Wake Forest University would step on an elevator with 2 or 3 venture capitalists, people in private equity, who invest money in early stage businesses. And the elevator was literally keyed to start at the first floor and not stop until the 60th. There would be no interruptions. But it only took about 60 seconds. It's a high-speed elevator in a really glorious kind of an office tower environment. So the representative of the student team had 60 seconds to pitch the team's idea until they got to the 60th floor. And the story goes, when the doors opened, the venture capitalists got off and they either invited the kid to come with them or they waved him off. 60 seconds. Pitch your idea, and if you do it, if you set the hook and reel me in, I'm going to invite you to step off the elevator with me. And if you don't do that rather, I'm going to say, thank you, enjoy the ride down. Yeah. So, I believe that is the genesis of the term that you hear, elevator pitch. And again, there could be people who have competing claims, but that one's a pretty strong claim to doing that. So the point is that pitching relies significantly on your ability to make a positive first impression. Okay, if you can't do that, bust! You busted. If you know that I'm an area businessman that's in your space, I do the same thing that you want to do, or that I'm in private equity, or I'm an angel investor because I've sold another company or something like that. If you think that I could be a source of funding and you make a terrible first impression, you're not going to have an opportunity to make a second one, are you? So when we talk about this pitching thing, you have to understand that first impressions are truly significant. And I would even say that extends to grooming. I mean that. I'm not an ugly, judgmental man, but I had a guy show up once for an interview at my accounting firm in Atlanta, and I didn't greet him in the lobby. He came in, introduced himself. Our receptionist buzzed me and said, "Your 2 o'clock is here," or whatever. So I was trying to wrap something up in just a few seconds, and I said, "Please just send him back." So this guy walks in. This is a guy interviewing for a position in an accounting practice in Metro Atlanta, and he walked in. I don't know if his hair had been shampooed, cut, or combed in the last several months. He was wearing ratty cargo shorts, flip-flops. This is 35, 40 years ago. He had piercings, and he had on some sort of a Hawaiian shirt. And I stood up and shook my hand, and I said, "Don't even bother to sit down, because I'm going to dismiss you." I said, "You're here to interview for a CPA firm in Atlanta, and you look like a freaking drug addict." So I told him explicitly what he had done wrong, and I said, "I hope you don't make the same mistakes at your next interview," and I escorted him to the door. I'm not going to hire somebody who's that unaware of context. So this thing about first impression, I mean, when I say to you, I think even grooming is important. You don't have to be in a 3-piece, $2,000 Armani suit, but you have to present yourself well, don't you? And I think like rubber shoes is a bad choice. I really do. I don't care if they're sandals, river shoes, Crocs. Rubber shoes belong in your backyard. They don't belong anywhere off of your little piece of dirt that you own or rent. You do anything you want, brothers and sisters, but you need to remember that you have to make a positive first impression or you don't go anywhere. So I mean that, I'm sincere. Be prepared to present your idea anywhere. I don't care if we bump into each other in Lowe's. Don't look like a bum. Now, I told you the history of the elevator pitch, 60 seconds. That's because this high-speed, non-stop elevator only took 60 seconds to reach the top floor of the office tower. And at the end of that journey, you, the aspiring entrepreneur, either get invited to step off and continue the conversation, or they thanked you and you went back down. Now, what they talk about in the text, and I think it's useful, they talk about developing a pitch that you could deliver in 20 seconds. I want you to think about that. You have to develop it, you have to rehearse it, you have to time it, but I promise you in 20 seconds, you can get out 4 or 5 sentences that might really engage me. You could say, "Hi, I'm Bill Norton. I'd like to tell you about a concept I'm bringing to market. I plan to X, and our stage of development is Y, and our capital needs are Z, and I think we're attacking a space that is unoccupied. I think we have the chance to get real market acceptance." Okay, in 4 or 5 sentences, in 20, 25 seconds, You've introduced yourself. You told me enough about the concept and the market space you want to attack or launch in, and what your stage is. You might say, we have patent protection or not, but you might not need it. You might not have intellectual property. You might give me a sense for financing needs. You might say that we've done the proof of concept and we're looking for seed stage funding. But in 4 or 5 sentences, in 20 seconds, you could deliver a powerful message. And I might say, my goodness, listen, I've got a meeting at 2:30. I can't talk now. How about tomorrow morning, 8:30, the daily grind? We'll sit down over coffee and you can make a more comprehensive presentation to me. So pitching, again, the history of the elevator pitch goes back to this fun little contest at Wake Forest with the MBA students, 60 seconds, and you go back down or you talk. But what they're suggesting is 20 seconds, and I promise you, if you can develop, and it's not hard to do, tell me your story in 20 seconds. What's the product, what's the market, what's the technology? That's why I've asked you to do a PMT statement. Think about that. If you can tell me the products or services you're bringing to the market, the segment that you're going to serve, their principal technologies, you've defined your business. So I have a note to myself that there's a table on page 464 that's got really good counsel for you. So let me find 464. Oh yeah. All right, table 6.5. Oh, I hate the tips on making a good first impression. Yes, be aware of your body language. Be open and confident. People who are expressive and animated are much more likable than people who are guarded. Learn to listen. Gee, imagine that. Manage your image. Analyze your grooming and how you dress. How do you think that would reflect on you and your business? Get the handshake right. Y'all, if you were face-to-face with me, one of the things that I do is in the Career Days module is I talk to you about first impressions, about eye contact and handshakes and things like that. If you have a crappy handshake, come to my office, we'll practice. It's not like it's a big deal. But a limp handshake is a real turnoff, really is. Be polite and courteous. That means you probably wouldn't want to be cocky or arrogant. Does that make sense? My only point is they're talking about some suggestions of making a positive first impression. And it's a big deal. And I know you know this because none of us ever have a second opportunity to make a first impression. We get one time at bat. So you really need to prepare. You need to present yourself well, and not, I would say all the time. When you walk off this campus, you're no longer a college student. You know, the uniform here is, think about the IT kids. Here's a male IT student. Crocs, cargo shorts, a ratty t-shirt, and a man bun. Okay, that fits just fine on campus. You walk off campus and I'm gonna look at you and say, shouldn't you grow up a little bit? You're no longer a college student. Present yourself well. You can be a bum in college, can't you? You can wear gym shorts to class and all kinds of stuff like that, but when you walk off campus, people will never, once you're a degree, people will never look at you the same way. You will never again be a college student unless you decide to go to grad school. And I promise, any grad school journey you go on will be radically different than your undergraduate experience. Radically different. You'll be motivated, it'll be highly competitive, just the selection piece. So my point is that when you leave campus, you're no longer a college student. Don't act or behave like one. Behave like somebody who is actually a member of the workforce or someone who is seeking to become a member of the workforce. And that will pay you dividends. I'm on 466, and again, I've got a note to look at the textbook. There's a discussion about the value of storytelling on page 466. And since we're talking about you pitching, that makes sense that we would have that conversation. All right, so storytelling is a side heading in the textbook. And here's what it says you might want to consider. It says, consider opening a pitch with this sentence. I have a story to tell you. I do that every class, don't I? That's because we have to do that attendance verification thing. That's the only way that I know that. I also know, I get analytics from YouTube every week, and I know what many of you have in terms of an average duration of viewing. I can see that what you're doing is you're just grabbing the attendance verification story and then speeding ahead to the question And that's going to bite you in the butt on midterms, isn't it? I have no control over your behavior, but you're not fooling me. That's something that you should probably know. Here's what it says in the text. All stories are based on a three-part narrative arc that can be traced back to ancient Greece and the stories of the philosopher Aristotle. Aristotle's arc still applies to storytelling. Intro that presents the characters and the ideas. The climax that outlines the problem at its peak and how your solutions can resolve it. Intro, climax, resolution. Now, I'll tell you something that I have long believed, and I actually hope I'm worthy of this descriptor. I actually believe that all good teachers are good storytellers. And the reason I believe that is oftentimes I have complex or confusing concepts to bring to you, whether it's in a classroom setting or me staring at an iPod Min I. So the point is, I think good teachers have to be good storytellers. I have to be able to introduce a concept, develop it, show you how to apply it. I have to energize you. I have to make you want to not just listen, but to learn. That's what I try to do, is provide a good learning environment. You and you alone get to judge if I did, but that is certainly my objective. So my point is that I think all good teachers have to be good storytellers. I do. But the greater issue is, if you think about this pitching your idea thing, you can't know who you're going to bump into, what their interest might be. But think about what I said a moment ago that builds on the chapter. The chapter says, make your pitch in 20 seconds. You have to set the hook. You have to interest me if I'm the listener. How tough would it be if you have a concept in mind, you know what market you're going to serve, that sort of thing? How tough would it be for you to come up with a story that's 4 or 5 sentences long that you can deliver in 20 seconds? And I might say, that's just outside of my space. I don't have any interest in it. Or I'm bankrupt, or 100 things. Or I may say, let's talk later. I'm traveling this week, call me next week, we'll have coffee, or whatever the case may be. Think about developing, when you're at the point where you have a concept that you want to take to market, think about developing a pitch that has 4 or 5 sentences that you could deliver 20, 25 seconds. We could be standing in line at a coffee shop, and I could tell you. We could be in an elevator. I could bump into you in a parking lot. Think of the ability that you want to craft. You want to craft this story that has 4 or 5 sentences. Introduce yourself. Tell me what the concept is just in a sentence or two. Tell me the stage of your business, what your needs are. Boom. Big, big stuff. So, what else did they talk about? They don't talk about anything else that I want to talk about. They talk about the Twitter approach to marketing. Okay, you can market something in 140 characters if you want. That's your call. So we're at the point where I'm wrapping up. This is the last class presentation of our summer term together. And the AVQ, the attendance verification question, I would like you to send me an email with a brief description, not long and elaborate, but a brief description of that CIA safe house that's located somewhere in coastal Georgia. All right, love you. I'll catch up with you soon. Please, in the fall, come and introduce yourselves. Bye.